Good evening, everyone. Today I'm gonna host an interview with our special guest. And before I ask him to join us, I would like to ask you to let us know where are you watching us from, who is with us right now, and our live today will be an interview with one of our speakers on our conference on the 30th of September in London, Vanish Patel, and we're going to talk about himself, about his story, about his experience in business, properties, and networking events. So before I invite him to our conversation, please see short intro, and then we are going to start the show. Let me turn it on. Okay, so Vanish, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Jacob.
How are you today?
Very good, very good. Excited to be with you and looking forward to the conference.
Oh, okay, that's great. So at the beginning, I wanted to ask you to introduce yourself. If you could tell us who you are, where do you come from, and what is the story behind you?
Sure. Okay, I'll try to keep it brief. So my name's Vanish Patel. I'm going to be one of your speakers at your event. In summary, I left university to studying IT, and I did a decade or so in the city of London doing very IT projects. So that's my sort of professional background. But for the last 2 decades, I've been full-time being busy with property and business. Okay, and I've done a bit of everything. Rented properties, built houses, traded property. The thing that I am probably good at is knowing how to leverage my time and resources just to be able to do bigger deals. Yeah. So like everybody, just like yourself, I was working in a job, got involved in property, made a few mistakes, and I realized that you need to find people who are doing it a little bit better than you, figure out how to bribe them through food, drink, etc., to understand what they're doing. And going to events has been a thing that enables me to learn more and how to direct my business. Yeah. So it's nice to share and give back a little bit, and hopefully at the conference I'll show you things that you can focus on to improve your journey.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, leverages. This is the topic of our conversation today and of your speech at our conference. If someone would like to join our conference, there will be a link in our comments. You can go there and find more details. Vanish, so I would like to talk about a few things connected with your person, because I know that you have more than 20 years of experience in business, properties, and networking events. So let's maybe start with the question why you have decided to leave your job in London, in city. I assume that it was well-paid job. If it was
like I said, I went to university to study IT. That was something that I was good at, and then I just went from company to company working in the city. But you're there working using IT, but the challenge with that is that you're making good income, right? But you're not building your net worth.
Yes.
Right. So for me, I wanted to be able to work out the skills of but knowing how to find the right assets, how to buy them, and then work towards financial independence, where the money that I earned through those assets, either renting them or trading them, enabled me to replace my my IT income. Yeah. And the other thing is that why I decided to transition is, if you've ever worked in any big organization, there's a lot of politics that goes, I enjoy my IT, but you then have to deal with all the politics of a company and all the people involved. So for me, I was very much, I want to own my own business. I want to have control of my time. I want to be able to earn income with the least number of people involved, right? Just it enables me to have, I feel, a better lifestyle. So it's a lot easier managing properties than necessarily managing a large organization and all the things that kind of go with that. Yeah. So that bit I was very clear. And I had one advantage, which is a lot of my family, when they came to this country, they had no choice but to start their own business. They weren't able to get into the corporate environment. So I can see the difference between those who did the corporate journey and those that did the business journey, right? And once you get to a certain level, you realize that that's the future where you've got to put energy. But it's scary, and that's why you should get some knowledge and understanding of how to structure the right business and how to structure the right deal.
I see points. Okay, and you left IT company, and I know that before you started to do some deals in properties, you decided to start to run your own networking events. So could you tell me from where this idea came to your head, and what was your purpose of doing those?
Okay. Well, you got to remember, when I got started, this was before even Facebook existed, right?
Yes.
So in some ways now, people have it so easy to, you can go on the internet. There are lots of people running events and places. So back then, when I was trying to do my property investing, I had to go on online forums, and trying to connect with people was actually quite difficult. You'd kind of message somebody, you might get somebody on the phone, and then you find out that there's 100 miles between the two of you to then set up a meeting to kind of, right? So this is all, this all takes time to connect. Yeah. And so I realized that, I was probably a year or two into my journey, and I was working on my property business, but I realized that you want to bounce ideas, you want to sort of share and learn some things. So I would meet people one-on-one, and that would take a bunch of time. And then I had a project, and I thought, you know what, it would be nice if I got people I'd met in the last year or two, and they can come and see, and meet me, and I can show them around the project and everything. And that ended up being like an event that I did. I got probably 30, 40 people in one day to come to see a project. And it was relatively simple. I messaged people and invited them, and they invited some friends along. I made it a little bit more open, and this enabled me to actually meet other people. So then I just made a simple decision. Why don't I just invite people that I've met, and I can touch base with a lot more people by just facilitating. So by giving up an afternoon to just facilitate that, and organize it, I was actually able to move forward, and without me knowing it, I was leveraging my time. Yeah. So then I got to like 50 people coming every month. They told other people. Then next thing you know, you're into that organizing, and that really accelerated my journey. I got to meet investors. I got to meet other developers. Right. So the power of leveraging your resources, instead of doing everything one-on-one, do in small groups, and then things go on there. Just no different than what you're doing with your conference.
Yes, that's true. So this is the first type of leverage which you used in your way to
Oh yeah,
place?
definitely. What I tell people is, if you go to a meeting, go to an event, you just don't realize that the people that you're going to meet at that conference or at that event, how critical they're going to be in a deal you're going to do 2 or 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it always works this way. You meet a bunch of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you kind of get to know them, they kind of get to know you. And then suddenly, right, you've got an opportunity, you've got a deal. Or, hey, I need this bit of information. Now because you've been in an event, you can make some phone calls, you can send some messages, people will call you back if you've been fair with them. And that makes the difference. And I can certainly name multiple deals where I met them at the beginning. I didn't really think about that because you're not aware of what they know, who they know, the doors they can open,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So the thing that happens is, when you go to an event, you have no idea what challenges you're going to have 3 years from now. But I know the more numbers in your phone, the more people that know you and that more are doing more than you.
Mm-hmm.
When an opportunity comes, the beginner has no contacts in his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And no one wants to return his phone call. So this is the power of leveraging those relationships that you create at events. And still today, I go to events, I still can meet useful people. And so I think that's one of the things that is really important to understand, the leverage. Because in our education system, we are told you have to answer the question. In the exam, right? You're not allowed to bring a phone in.
Yes.
Right. Whereas in business, right, it's the person who makes the most number of phone calls or sends the most number of emails. I was just speaking with someone a couple of weeks ago, and I just said, you've spoken to one architect around this problem. Right. And that's it. Right. Ring 10 other people. Right. Here's 2 other people. Go talk to them. Get, everyone's going to give you a little nugget, and then one will give you the idea. Right. And then one gives you the idea. Now, what happens is, you got the idea. Now you label it as your own. Right.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
in the education system, we have to go and find all the research. Right. So for me, leveraging other people's knowledge and expertise, you can tap into someone with 10 years experience, far more. Right. And it's kind of random, but they might be sitting at an event. Right. You get to know them. Suddenly their knowledge is equal to yours. You've got to figure out how to get access to them. You've got to be friendly. There's a few other things. You're not just going to walk in and they're not just going to return every phone call, but you accelerate. So you move a lot faster than what the education system, which is, you need to know everything. Right. So in business, you need to know the man or the girl that knows the information. And, so you get paid to be the conductor, not the musician.
Yes.
You see, right? And this is the trick that always there is, you need to be able to play a few instruments, but then you need to find the other people and bring them together. And that's, again, another leverage skill. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. Thank you for the answer. In the meantime, I would like to ask you, our guests who watch us, to let us know, where are you watching us from? Is it London, or maybe another part of the UK? Maybe you are abroad. Let us know, please. And referring to what you said, could you tell me because you said about the contacts, so how your contact email list grew between the first event and the last event?
Well, okay. So in my first event, when I was doing it by myself, just trying to, basically me and Google trying to conquer the earth. That was, the thing. And then going on. That's where everybody starts, right? I was full time. It took me a year to get to about 100 people, and then when I started going to events and organizing events. So once you organize an event, other people kind of get to know you. Just that enabled me, one of the things I would say is, I went from 100 to 1,000 in under a year. Right, just by facilitating. And then those people that met me knew other people, right? And then from that, the key, which is important, is not just go to an event or organize an event, follow up with the people. That's important, right? So anybody that came to one of my events, they were all people that received a phone call after the event, right? Because there's only how many conversations you can have on the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they've had a good experience, those people are going to be warm when you reach out to them, like there's a very simple message. Hi, thank you for coming to my event. Hope you had a good time. Hey, when are you free? Didn't get a chance to speak to you at the event. Can we set up some time? Very easy to do all that. So, and what you don't know is who you might meet somebody, but you don't know who they are going to know and what doors they can open. So I've learned in time that whenever you go to an event, don't just look at the person that is in front of you, right? Because that person, you should always consider that person as a stepping stone. They're going to be one step to another person that's going to be really valuable, right? But that's important. If you connect with that person, in time, they will open a door to the valuable person that you want or the opportunity that you want, right? So we have a saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And the reason is because you don't know who they're going to introduce you to, right? Over the course of the next 2-3 years. That's why anybody at the event is a useful person, because it's not just who they are, but who they will open doors for you. And that's another form of leverage. Yeah. So these are things that, again, this doesn't happen in the work environment. In the work environment, you turn up, you get paid on your results. Right. Now, I know from IT, right, it's really important to go meet other IT experienced people in other businesses, because whenever you have a problem, you know that if you make phone calls and talk to other people, they may have come across it or they got a different idea, right? And you're going to meet those people. You've got to be instrumental in figuring out ways that you can meet those kind of people. Same happens in property. You may have a strength, and then you might meet somebody who's really good at an area that you're weak at. Right. So again, you want to get into figuring out how you can leverage other people's skills and other people's time.
Yes, you're right. And closing this topic of events, networkings, we are talking about, you're performing in our event, so we will be touching topic of conferences and networkings. But if you could share the one best tip which you would give someone who are going to come to our conference or the other networking events, what is the most important thing that you should know or you should practice during the events?
Okay, so the one thing I say is, the one tip I'm going to give is make sure you have a plan of action, right? And what happens is most people who come to conferences come with what I call the student hat, right? And what that means is they come, they figure out where am I going to sit, right? Where am I going to put my pen, paper, and all that? And they come in with the student mindset because they are going to the conference to be a sponge to soaking up the information. And I say that's very good. Be disciplined about when you're going to do that. But the second hat you need to be is the person that is going to be connecting with people, right? So set aside a time when you're the student, right? And set aside time, at least 1 hour, right, where you are talking to other people, right? And you just are in the focus of, now I use this word, you need to start learning to be aggressively friendly. Right. Okay. And the reason is because when you go there, you need to be the one that says hello. Right. If you go to the event and you sit there, right, with your books and your notepads, right, no one is going to come and talk to you. Right. The 50% of the value going at a conference is starting conversations. Yeah. So timetable when you're going to be doing that. In the breaks, turn up early, talk to, and focus on saying hello, right? Figure out just simple questions that you can say to start conversation, because my rule of thumb is this: if you go to a conference, you talk to 10 people, one of them will be valuable. You just don't know which one it is. You've got to follow up with all of them. But 1 year from now, one of those 10 is going to be valuable. That is worth the cost of the ticket alone. It's just you don't see it because you don't know what deal you're going to be doing in the next 3 years. And it's been consistent over the last 20 years.
Okay, I think we lost Vanish for a while. So referring to what Vanish said, I think that it's important to be aggressive.
We're back again, and
I'm gonna follow what I tried to say. So yeah, I think that it's important to be aggressive friendly, to say hello. And we also know about it that it's hard to meet new people, make friends. So we make a couple of steps ahead to help you. And we prepared something called business speed dating. So the beginning of our conference, you will have a chance to take part in
let's
this
see
game.
if Jakob comes on.
Okay, yeah. So let's
Hey,
finish
we're
up.
back. You see, this is a great thing about being an entrepreneur. Okay, you're going to have situations where curveballs are thrown.
Yes,
and we'll get back on. So as I was saying, Jakob, is that 1 in 10 people are going to be useful, but it's your responsibility to start conversations. So figure out when you're going to do it. Some people will do it at the beginning. The great thing about a one-day conference is there's plenty of time to talk, right? But start the conversations early. Make a friend. Even if you just say, hello, how are you? Can I sit with you? Oh, is this your first time? Whatever, just start a little bit. And then you've got the rest of the day, right, to get to know those people. And then, towards the end, you can pick a handful of people and follow up with them. So don't get sucked into just being the student. You want to get into figuring out how you do the entrepreneurial part, which is start conversations. Conversations lead to cash.
The more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Pretty much, it is. I know it sounds cliche, right? But for me, that is the whole thing. All right, saying hello, right? Okay, and welcome. Work in that will lead to success in the future. Yeah,
yes, that's true. Yeah. So finishing what I started to tell you when you vanish. I started to tell about the things which we have in our conference because I used to attend a lot of meetings, a lot of conferences before, and I think that I started to think what problems we can solve on our conference to be a bit different. So we have something called business speed dating. So at the beginning of our conference, all guests can take part in this game. So in every stage of this game, you will meet 5 people. You'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself. The other person will have 1 minute to introduce him or herself, and then you can exchange contacts, and another person. So there is 4 rounds, and you can meet 20 people in short time, in 1.5 hour. So this is something like to break the ice. And then you also have a networking application. So when you buy a ticket to a conference, before the conference we share with you an access to our application. So before, you have a list of all the guests, information, what they do, even contact numbers or email addresses. So and also you have a chat in the application, so you can start to chat with people, start to meet each other, and you can be prepared for this
that's
conference.
very good. You're facilitating the flow of conversations.
Yes, exactly. And we try to share with all our guests the information who will be there. So, for example, I would like to know who will be there so I can be prepared. You said that people are coming to conferences, they don't have an intention, they are not prepared. I understand it because sometimes you don't know who will be there except of speakers. In this case, you have all the information, so you can prepare yourself. So yeah, I think that those tools are really connected with what you said, with your tips. So yeah, I invite everyone who is not already on our list to go to our website. You can see the link in the comments, and yeah, you can find more information. Okay, Vanish, let's close this networking and events topic for a second, and let's go to the properties. You said that you are in the properties, you have your properties. So could you tell me what was your story? What type of deals did you do in your past?
So early in my career, I think I tried a little bit of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was important for me to figure out, do a deal, right? And then from that, you get an experience, right? So one of the things I try to explain to people is, look, the mistake that I think a lot of people make is they start focusing on make as much money as quickly as I can, right? And I always say, look, build a business that makes money. Don't focus on making money, right? And the way to do that is the first thing that you want to be doing is go figure out the types of deals, the types of strategies, right? And then pick maybe one or two to then say, right, let's see where I can get with that. So you get a feel for it, how long it takes. There's a difference between knowing what to do and then doing it and then applying your skills around that. Okay. And then eventually what you'll discover is what fits your personality. So you find a strategy that fits your personality, right? And that you can do confidently. So what we're always looking for is what we look at is trying to get to a position, what we call figuring out your cookie cutter, right? The thing that you can do multiple times and you have confidence doing that. Yeah. So for some people, right, it's going to be buying and selling, trading, right? That's where their expertise is. For other people, it's buy and hold because they're much better at renting and they're happy with all that activity, right? And then others are just opportunistic. They'll do a bit of this and they'll do a bit of that, right? So what I have found is, for me, the buy and hold and rent out for high cash flow. So in the stock market, we talk about buy low, sell high, correct? Right? In property, what we talk about is buy and rent out high. The trick is, what can you do that can change it around? So an example is things that are still working now, they've been working, for the last decade or so, is you get a house, instead of trying to make it just work on a single let basis, do it on a multi-let, rent by the room. Okay. That's a strategy that allows you. What can you do to the property? So what happens is a lot of people just focusing on the question, what should I buy? And I say, don't focus on what to buy, focus on what to build. Right. So the beginner mindset is, what can I buy, do the least effort and get it rented out and making cash flow. Now, there's a paradox with this, because the real professional guys, what they're looking at is they're buying something and it's not cash flowing for 6 months to a year because they're working on it. Right? Now, even though it takes them longer, they're adding more value. Right? So if you buy a property and you refurb it, you put an extension on, right? You convert a garage into a rentable room. Right? This is what increases the cash flow. Right? So we don't have enough time today to go into the detail, but the trick is, right, the longer the gap from acquisition to cash flow, right, the more that you'll make profit, because you are able to delay when the money comes in, because it's the value that you add. Right? So it can be an extension, it could be a loft extension, it could be splitting one part of the property off and working on that. So this is all comes back to, what is the angle, right? It is not what you're buying, it's what you make, right? And the really clever people are the ones who know what they're going to end up with 3 months, 6 months, even a year down the road. Yeah. And so there's a technique in knowing how to make a property work. And that's the trick. It's not just buy it, rent it out. If you're doing exactly the same as everybody else, right, then you're not going to get the competitive advantage. What can you spot? Yeah. So an example, right, you can have is there are lots of properties where you can convert it from a single family let to a multi-let. You can get 5-6 people by renting by the room, right? These are things that people understand. Sometimes you can find for example, converting a 1-bed into a 2-bed, right? Because there are lots of properties where the bedroom is overlarge. And what they do is they take the kitchen, right, and you move that into the living room. So in London, you can do that. People are okay with part of the kitchen being in the living room, right? You have a kitchen diner sort of environment. And so where the kitchen was, you turn that into a bedroom. Now you've got a 1-bed and it'll be a 2-bed. And so in the UK, a 2-bed is more valuable than a 1-bed. Right. So this you will see from the floor plan. So when someone's looking at the property, it is never what you buy the raw material to make the end thing. There is a reason why Apple, are like a very successful company, because they build phones. They don't, just buy it and put the bits together. It's the skill of getting all the components together. Right. So this is what you want to do. You want to get into understanding property is building a business. So figuring out the product, right? And these little tricks are the things that you want to look at. It's not just buy something, clean it up, rent it out. You'll make money, but it will just be slow. The real skill is knowing what you can do. How do you transform, right? And then repurpose or reposition the property. These are the things that you want to look at. And that's the thing that when I look back in my history, these are all the little things that make the big difference. Yeah. But it takes time, because unless you've seen someone do it, right, you won't know what you can do.
I see your points. Okay, so I'm just gonna see the comments. Okay, hello. I have a couple of comments. Hello, Natalia. Hello, Wojciech. Hello, Mateusz. Hello, Magdalena, Marcin, and Jacek. Thanks for being with us. Let us know where are you right now. Magdalena is in Bristol, and if you guys can let us know from which part of UK do you watch us. So just to summarize your story. So you used to deal with single lets, with HMOs. Did you do something with developments as well?
Yeah, I mean, I did get into doing development. So I've done everything, like from buying a piece of land and then building a house, okay, and doing refurbishments. One of the things that you learn is where your skill set kind of works, right? So I always feel that you should do a deal almost from start to finish, just for the experience of knowing where the real value is. So taking a piece of land and then getting planning permission, working out where that skill is. You soon learn that in development, there are 2 areas that are really good. One is that the money's made in getting the permission, not necessarily in the developer. So we have this mindset, right, that sometimes developers is all about being hands-on, right? Actually, the most smartest developers, right, are the ones who do the paper trade.
Yes.
Right. And what that means is they're shuffling paper. Yeah. So an example is, like, I look back, okay, where have I made relatively easy money for effort? Right. So if you, for example, you buy a property that's unmortgageable, right? Okay. Now, if you find a private investor, you can find a property and you see that there's an issue of why it's not mortgageable, right? Because there's certain issues that need to be fixed with the property. Well, an unmortgageable property will go for a much bigger discount. Yeah, because people can't buy it with a mortgage. So you go in, you buy it for cash, you do the work, and then you can flip it on or refinance it by getting that fixed. Right. So there are all these little things that you can pick up on that enable you to make the money. So as a developer, part of it is construction work, knowing how to maximize what you can build. But another part is understanding the fact that you can fix issues. So sometimes the reason that it's not mortgageable is because there are certain issues on the title, and you have the knowledge and expertise to know how to clean it up to make it eventually mortgageable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll get like anywhere from a 20 to 30% uplift just because you can fix these issues, right? And you know, these are things that I've seen. Another classic example is what we call short leases.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you buy a property, and the reason it's unmortgageable is purely because it's a short lease. It's under 75 years. So
Yes.
you might find a property. There are loads of properties in the UK around, right, that are 50-year leases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all you're doing is you're literally going to buy it, okay, and you then extend the lease, and
Mm-hmm.
you can make it so that you can get the lease extended and know that the price roughly before you own the property. All right. So then all you do, you buy it, you get the lease extension, and then you can sell that on or refinance it with the lease extension. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst these are things that you can look at, developer, most people just think of developer being construction, but a lot of developers, what they do is they get the planning permission, right? And then they make a decision. Should I build it out, or should I just sell it on to another developer to finish off? Because now it's a project, and then they can go on, move and use their money to move on to the next one. So
Yes.
I kind of feel that those two are areas that you want to look at. So what can you get from doing planning gain? What can you get from, you can even do things like PD. There are certain things that you can put in that will allow. So in all of the areas, one of the things I always say as a developer, just decide how hands-on. Now, if you like doing that, you know, like sometimes I enjoy doing the construction, making something, you know, right? I know it sounds silly, but sometimes shuffling paper and then just making the money, that's good. But, you know, I think there's an artistic side to me. I like to build something, you know, hey, I made that, you know. So every so often I'll do a project, but it's more an art. It's probably not the most profitable use of my time, but as a man, I feel I need to make things, like, you know, so sometimes I'll do.
You like to use leverages, so you don't use any leverage, you know, making something by your hands.
Yeah, and also, you know, like what sometimes I say, look, if you're going to stay in this for, you know, a number of years, you need to find, I call it like my art project or my challenge project. So for me, sometimes I want to do a project where it's not so much make money, but it's improve my skill. Right? Okay. Can I really, you know, do this like more complicated? You see this with people. You know, they take on a challenging project, right? For the challenge sake, not necessarily financial. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You know, we were talking earlier, like, you know, the reason that people climb mountains is because of the challenge, not because of the result. It's easier to go from A to B in a car, right? But there's this paradox. Sometimes you pick a project, it challenges you, it helps you connect, and then those skills become useful in others. So I've always known that don't always just focus on money, focus on skill, connection. So sometimes I do projects with other people because it's just fun to do a project with them. You see? So, and that enables me to get my brain, it connects me with people. And then always I find another project that I can then make money from. So there's this kind of duality of don't just focus on money all the time, right? You know, focus on skill or connecting with people.
Okay, and last question regarding the properties. Do you think the properties are just bricks and mortar, or it's more about people, connections? How do you see the property business?
It depends who you are, right? So for me, I find there are lots of different people.
Okay, we have another connection problems. Yeah, so this morning, I used to talk with Vanish minimum once a week, and yeah, this morning we were talking, and I was on my way from Manchester to Sheffield in the Peak District. Some of you maybe recognize this area. There is a spots where you don't have connections, so Vanish had to wait for me to come back from the depression between the hills. And right now I'm waiting for Vanish. Vanish, are you back with us?
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
telling people that there is a
Good.
draw.
Okay.
This morning you were waiting for me, and right now I'm waiting for you. Okay, I think that there is still some problem with the connection. As you can hear, Vanish has a lot of value in from his experience from more than 2 decades of his networking, business, and properties experiences. So, if you want to meet him in person, he will be with us on Friday and on Saturday. So he just lent us his 2 days to spend his time with us. So if someone see the value in this conversation, I would be grateful if we could share this conversation, this live, to your friends, to your feeds. And also, I really invite you to come to meet Vanish. Yeah, I've met Vanish on the networking event, so it's not a coincidence. It's not something that we tell people, yeah, you should go to the networking event because there is a value. We are going to the events. I'm gonna go to the event where I met Vanish first time. It is Sash Hussain Property Meet. And yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. There will be also our main speaker, Ranjan Bhattacharya. I would like to invite you to this event, but unfortunately, there is no tickets available. But yes, even Vanish on his stage, he's going to the events and still meet new people. Are you back with us?
We are. I don't know if it was
Yes.
your end or my end, but we'll get there. So where are we at?
Yeah, so I was telling people that yeah, we have a draw today. This morning you were waiting on me for me on the call because I was in Peak District. So right now I'll wait on you. So
No
it's
problem.
we can go we can follow the conversation. Yes, so I think I asked you about the properties. What do you think, if it is the brick and mortars or more than bricks, more connections? And you started to with saying that it depends who you are.
Exactly. I think what you one of the things that happens is people come into property and you've got to find, I always say find the right strategy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And make sure that it complements your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have people who are very analytical, right? They like to work things out. They're what I call the landlord. They're that repetition. They enjoy having the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, they don't get bored doing the same thing, right? Then you get I call the fidgeters. They're the traders. They're always able to look this way. That personality. So what I always say is property is going to reflect over time your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're a trading type person, then you will probably enjoy doing the development. If you are a person that's looking for simplicity, then you will enjoy repetition. Right. So buy and then do the same thing again and again. Right. So it just becomes. Then the other thing is the people who enjoy the creativity. Some people are numbers, right? So they're all about the trade, right? So they want to do so for me, I'm looking at doing the simplest amount of work to make the most. And that means figuring one thing and just doing it again and again and again, right? For my creativity, I pick a project which allows me to do one-offs. I know it's not scalable, but it just gives me something for my soul. Yeah. Right. So you have that whole thing of it reflects that eventually the business will reflect your personality. In the beginning, what people do is they pick a strategy. This is the one that's going to make me the most money, right? But it's against, they can stick at it, but they can't do it for 5 years because just the nature of it. And so you evolve. That's why I say you want to see property in your first couple of years a bit like a buffet. Try a few little things, right? And then doing some deals, you will figure out your personality. And generally, this is the way it all works out. The thing that you find easiest, the thing that gives you the competitive edge, that is the thing that you're going to do more of. Yeah. So I know through my personality, right? It's about people and connection. So I have to, in getting with a deal, it's the people around it, not necessarily the bricks and mortar. Yes, you're investing in that, but it's the sustainability, right? So for me, I have some projects which are very just, yes, it's bricks and mortar and that's it. But other projects, there's a connection, there's a type of, for example, I know my tenant group, right? And I know which ones to avoid and which ones to connect with. Right. So even though it's the property, it's the tenant group that I want to get involved in. Right. And this is, again, another mistake. People fall in love with the property. And I said, you should really fall in love with the tenant, because it's the tenant that puts money in your bank account. Remember, the property takes money out of your bank account. Right. Okay. So what you want to do is you really want to know, right, can I serve this group of people, or can I serve that? Because that's the business part. Yeah, the property part is the vehicle to being able to do that interaction. So again, what happens is people kind of go, right, let's do this deal. It's going to make the most amount of money, right? It's going to give you the highest yield, but then they haven't really thought, can they handle that type of customer, right? There's a massive difference between doing a high-end HMO serving working professionals versus doing the lower end LHA type person. It's the kind of place where you've got to collect the rent. You've got to make sure there's a baseball bat in your car, right? So it's the two different ends, right? So this is why you want to figure out the strategy, the type of people, right? Otherwise, all that ends up happening is we would be always looking on the highest ROI, right? But you may not collect it. Just because you can do the rent, you got to collect the rent, you got to serve the people. And so for me, I look for people I connect with. So I know my audiences. I've done different audiences, and then I know these are the audience I will serve the best, and these are the ones I should avoid. It doesn't fit my personality.
Yes,
hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I think that it helps for everyone who didn't choose the strategy yet, because I see the same story, that people think that properties are the properties. They don't see how many strategies you have inside. And the other way is, you mentioned it, that someone, for example, you have your strategy, you do HMOs, and someone met you, he sees that you make money on this strategy, and he will be doing it only because you make money on it. But after a while, it might happen that he will figure out, okay, I don't like dealing with people.
Yes,
don't
like and that's why. But again, here's what I would say, right? In a way, all of the experts that you have invite for your conference, right? One thing I would always tell you is look at their background, look at their personality, and then look at their strategy. There is a link, right?
Yes.
So what I find is I look for the strategy. That's one component. And then I look at good practitioners of executing that strategy. And then I look at their history, the way they act and behave, right? And so you want to align. That's the great alignment, when the way they think and act, the way they run their business, right, fits in the line, and the way that they pick that strategy. Do you see? Right? So what you want to see is the different, not just the strategy, but the people behind the strategy, the people behind the business, the way they think. Do you see? And who you align with will help you know how you cut and paste the strategy. Do you see? So this is why it is important to get to know the people, to then figure out what type of business am I going to make, and then what type of property deals am I going to do, right? So really, the most important thing is align with the CEO, right? When you find somebody, and I know when I look at a deal, I've got to be owning that property for anywhere between 10 and 20 years. So it isn't just, there's different if I'm trading, but if I'm looking, I'm thinking of all the problems, right, of what I'm going to have to deal with in 10 years of ownership, right? And you've got to be able to do that in an hour of your due diligence. You've got to go and look at the property, figure all that out, and that's hard when you're a beginner. So when people come to me and say, like, let's analyze this deal, I always say, right, let's look at the deal, But then in balance to doing that, we need to analyze you and where you are in the journey and how those two are going to align. You're going to be a different person 10 years from now, right? So whilst this property might serve you today, how is it going to serve you 10 years from now? Right? And we have to factor that out. And that's why it's good to talk with people who've owned properties for more than a decade or two, right? Because they give you this insight like, okay, here's what's going to happen. It's going to be great now, but in 10 years, you're going to be a little bit more intelligent. You're going to move on. So, you know, figuring all this things out. Because what most people do is like, okay, I bought this. That's it. I'm done now. Right. And they haven't realized that, you know, that they're going to grow. There's going to be other aspects. Yeah. And also analyzing how you can expand it over time. So there might be a deal that's not ready today for you to do, but then, you know, right at this point, this is when you're ready to look. So know what you should be looking at doing, what you should be doing now, and maybe what you're ready to do in 5 years. And then what are the skills you need to develop in the next couple of years to be able to grab this bigger opportunity? Yeah. So, you know, these are all the little things that you want to pick up on. It's not just one strategy that you're going to apply. It's a stepping stone strategy. This is what's going to build the muscle, build the confidence. Then you're going to go for the big fish, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time. You see, right? So these are important things that you want to learn from other people. Not just what are they doing now? What did they do in the beginning? It's very different, right? Every single one of the people on your platform started going to a conference and didn't know anything.
Yes,
you know, so it's important that, you know, you don't just look at what we're doing today. What I'm doing now is not necessarily what I'd be teaching a beginner. But I show the path. Here's what you can do. Here's where you'll be in 5 years. Here's what you could potentially do in 10 years. And I think that's a good advice to give to young people. You know, you've got plenty of time. You can do a lot in 10 years in property.
Yes, that's true. Even I mentioned to when you were on your break during this live, I mentioned that we used to talk for a while, and from the conversation with you, I am sure that I took for sure the long-term view. I am young. Sometimes I want to act quick. But when I talk with you, when I share my ideas with you, you always show me the bigger pictures. You always show me the long run. What's
but ambition. Listen, ambition is good, right? And young people want to get it done. But what you want to be able to do is this lens. So you want to develop 2 skills. One is figuring out what you are going to do in the next decade. This is why I always say, right, what's your 10-year plan? Right? What are you going to do in a decade? Right? Who are you going to become? Right? And the reason is that, yes, it's important to figure out what you're going to do in the next year, but where you will be in 10 years. And this is why I think it's great when you're meeting other people who experience is it's hard when you're at the beginning, right? Because we're all in the make money today, right? As opposed to develop skills that are going to really benefit me in 10 years. You give property anywhere between 3 and 5 years of solid focus, right? It will change your life, right? But like I say, when you go to the conference, you've got to turn up, you've got to book the ticket, you've got to start the conversations. This is, you've got to show that you're ready to put in some effort. And I think, you know, you've organized a good set of speakers. So there's going to be plenty of knowledge and experience in the room. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to being part of your conference, Kubek.
Yeah, you are the one of the speakers, so you are great value. 2 decades of experience. I had a look on our speakers, and I think that all of them have minimum around 10 years if they're filed. So yeah, you said that we should talk with people who are a couple of steps ahead, and I think that there will be minimum 8 of people of this type, and many more on between the audience. For our watchers, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment area, and we will try to answer them at the end. We are close to the 1 hour right now. Okay, and the last questions from my side. You are on the level where you have a lot of properties, I assume. So you are not able to manage them alone, and probably you wouldn't be able to sit here and talk with me if you have to manage them by
Yes.
yourself. So do you delegate some tasks? Do you employ people? How it looks like in your business, from business?
Well, short answer, yes. So there's probably a couple of things to do when you're first getting started. Yeah, you can start using an agent. Okay. But I always recommend at the beginning, do as much as you can yourself to learn the business, right? Of finding tenants, checking them in, dealing with issues. Okay. Because now what this is doing is this is building in-house knowledge of how tenants act and behave, and you're catching problems early. Yeah. And the reason is so that then when you start, you after you've got agents, you then start wanting to hire your own people, because eventually you'll get to a point where you your agent, remember, is serving lots of other people and doing it kind of their way. So eventually you want to have someone that you hire personally, right, to work and do parts of the job yourself. So now what you're doing is you may take the initial call and then you give the job or the task of somebody else, right? And this is where you can start leveraging your time, because after a while, once you accumulate a certain number of properties, dealing with the day-to-day operation, it's better use of your time to be focusing on having other people do that activity, right? And you can you can work out people. So have two people, one person who is office bound and one person who goes and visits the properties. So what you've got is a front office and a back office. So the front office person takes all the phone calls, emails, inquiries, does as much as they can remotely, right? And then what that does is they can then facilitate somebody who's a bit more hands-on, who will go to the property and do your work, right? And that way you're leveraging. So you can have then somebody who's much better at customer service, right? And then you can have somebody who's good at managing the property, and then they just focus on going to the property, deal with whatever issue, and then report back to the person, right? And you can do that in repairs and maintenance. You can have that same format for viewings. Yeah. So somebody will run the ads, they make the inquiries, speak to the person, arrange a viewing time, and then arrange for another person to do the viewing. So this is the way I show people. And then what I do is I say, what you want to be able to do is know that you're checking in on the work of other people. So every so often I'll pick up a call, I'll deal with a problem, right? So I'm always back on the floor doing a few activities. So that way I can see what needs to be done. I'm inspecting. But again, time leverage and money leverage, these are skills that I think people need to learn.
I see your points. All right, thank you, Vanish. You shared a piece of your great and huge knowledge and experience. For them who want to meet Vanish in person, I really invite you to our conference on the 30th of September 2023. You can find more details in the link, which is in comments. And also, if you use the code for the tickets, Vanish10, you can get 10% discounts for your tickets. This is like a gift from us on this live. Vanish, would you like to add something to all our conversation at the end?
Yeah, I think it's great that you're organizing this event. I'm looking forward to meeting up with you and your team and listening to the other experts that you've put. It's a very good lineup. And I like the idea that you've got a whole day, right? So there's going to be a time to listen to the speakers, and you've set aside time for the networking, connecting. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very enjoyable and useful event that you're setting up.
Yeah, so regarding the time, yeah, there is like 10 hours during the Saturday, but around 4 of them, there are breaks and business speed dating. So there is 6 hours of knowledge from the stage from people which you can see behind me. And also there will be a time to make friends, build relationships, and really take the advantage from people who will be in this venue. And I can just tell you that there is a lot of people with value from properties, from other businesses. So yeah, I really invite you to come. And also, you said that you started your conferences to build your mailing list, to contact lists, and for everyone who come to our event, you will have this application, and in this application you will have all the details of all participants. So I would think about it. What is the value of all these contacts? Me and you, we need to organize conferences to attract those people, and we share with you this value of contacts to all of them. Because to be honest, if you have 200, 300 people in the venue, you're not able to meet all of them. I think that you are able to meet maybe 10, 20 of them during this event, and take a business card or the number or email. And in this case, you will have an access to them, to all those details before the conference and around 2-3 weeks after. So I think that this feature is valuable because you can use it after all. Thank you very much again, Vanish, for your time. I know it's valuable. For everyone who want to join us, there is a link, there is a code for you. And yes, thank you, Vanish. Have a good evening today, and we will see in less than 2 weeks, I think. Yes, yeah, less than.
Yes, that's right. See you in Heathrow.
Yes, take care. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.